Hey everybody, how are you doing? Hopefully you have had a wonderful weekend. I know that I had a spectacular weekend and I can't wait to share all of that information with you. Before I jump in, I'm going to say hi. Welcome to the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. You can catch the Yarn Thing podcast live every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. That's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and 11 o'clock in the Midwest. If you are anywhere else in the world and would like to join us live for the podcast right here on YouTube, please Google what time 10 o'clock Mountain Time is for you and join me over here with all of our lovely friends in the chat room and let's have a good time. If you're not able to join the live broadcast, don't worry. I have been uploading the audio over on Blog Talk Radio, so that way it's available there for you, as well as on, excuse me, as well as on iTunes. There are many different ways for you to enjoy the podcast. As you know, it has primarily been an audio podcast for 11 years, and we are switching it up and making it video now as well. We are blessed to have lovely sponsors of the show, which include Creative Bug, Craftsy.com, Erin Lane Bags, Buffalo Wool Company, and Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. Will be chock full of Red Heart Chic Sheep. So this is the yarn that is by me, Chic Sheep by Marley Bird. It is available only online at this time at redheart.com and joanne.com. If you have wanted to see it in person, touch it, feel it, fondle it, you can do so within reason in the Marley Bird Chic Sheep booth at Stitches West. So I would love it if you would join me there. And here is a little surprise. My mom will be joining me at this event. She will be running the booth along with my Red Heart team and the Marley Bird team Awesome, which includes Caitlin. And then Brittany will be along the way at Erin Lane Bags, but I'm sure she'll be coming back and forth. So it will be nice. So Stitches.events is also a lovely sponsor. I know I'm talking a lot today, but it's just me today, guys. I had a guest, and as you know, it is well beyond 10 o'clock Mountain Time. I had some computer technical difficulties. Not so much computer, more so on the internet side. I couldn't get connected to the internet for whatever reason. And when I finally did, it looks like Jim got pulled away and wasn't able to join us today. So Jim Cox isn't here. It is just me. Oh, wait a minute. Here he is. He just tuned in. So forget everything I just said. Jim, are you there?
I am.
Oh, well, hi. I was like, oh, he got pulled away, so I'm just going to chat. That's all right, though. So forget all of that. Let me jump in and do this one more time. So those are our lovely sponsors. And today's lovely guest is a friendly designer that's been on the show several different times. Although he has only been on the audio version, this is the first time we've done video with him. And we're excited to talk to our friend Jim Cox again today of James Cox Knits. And let's welcome him to the Yarn Thing podcast. So hi, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Very cool. So usually you join us from very luxurious locations. Where are you joining us today?
Believe it or not, today I'm in Hollywood.
You're in Hollywood.
Yes.
That's awesome. So cool. I mean, you have quite the adventurous life. And for people who might not know much about James Cox Knits, let's give them a brief rundown of how you got started in this industry and knitting and all of that good stuff.
Oh, sure. I would say it was just under 40 years ago that I began to really knit actively. When I was a child, I have 3 sisters. And my mom taught all of us to knit. So I'm from a family of knitters. But I wasn't really active until I was about 30 or so. And One of my sisters had made some fabric for me, sent me a bunch of the leftover yarn. I went into a Woolworths, saw a little book about that said how to knit, and I thought, oh, I remember this stuff. So I bought a pattern, and I sat down, went home, and made a Fair Isle sweater.
And then from there, you've been hooked. So, how did you jump into the design side of it?
Well, in the beginning, whenever I would look at patterns, a lot of them didn't really interest me. And so I would study sweaters that I had in the closet, for example, and just looking at different patterns and figured out how to design my own. So like the first one that I referenced, I had a cardigan pattern and I had a Fair Isle in the closet and I had a bunch of remnant yarn. So I just looked at it and thought, oh, I understand this. And I started to design. So I was really intrigued by the combination of color work with yarns and the texture and drape of fabric and the mathematics involved and the three-dimensional grid and structure of the garment, etc. So that's what inspired me.
So I know you have a very exciting past life, and it's very evident in all of the advertising and your website and such that you do. So tell people what you used to do.
Okay. Um, for many years, I worked in the advertising industry as a creative director, and I created ad campaigns for lots of different campaigns, lots of different companies. And so I worked in New York and Chicago and San Francisco and Los Angeles. And I was very fortunate. I got to work on some pretty exciting brands. I was part of the team that launched the Apple Macintosh. When I started my own business in 1986, which I ran for about 25 years, I had my own ad agency. And among my clients were the islands of Tahiti. So I had to go spend a lot of time in Tahiti.
Oh, what a burden that must have been.
But it was okay. And for Northrop Corporation, one of the defense contractors, and created some spots that ended up in the Smithsonian. And so I've had some really nice fortune in my marketing.
It's fascinating to me always when I get to talk to people who have such a fascinating past life. And then I often wonder, I'm like, why would you leave that to come to knitting? And I remember, oh yeah, I did the same. So what was the catalyst that was like, you know what, this is it. I'm gonna do this. I know we've talked about this before, but I want other people to hear about it.
Well, I would say that in the advertising world, I evolved into a brand strategist. And so I was really positioning brands in the marketplace and helping to launch new brands. And I was actually on a vacation in Paris and went into a little boutique that sold hand-picked garments from all the world's best designers. And I was admiring the fashion. And the owner came up and asked me who made my sweater and who had designed my sweater. And I said, well, actually, I designed it and I made it. So he gave me his business card and said, well, when you have your collection ready, please call me because I'd like to show your work. So I walked out of there and thought, well, geez, I could actually develop a brand for myself. And so I did. That's kind of how it started.
That's fantastic. And you've been going strong. How many years now has James Cox Knits? That's hard to say. James Cox Knits been around.
I'm into my third year. And when I launched with an e-commerce business on the internet and began by designing primarily for men and offering kits. So I was selling yarn and patterns. And immediately got picked up by the fashion trades, was invited to be in the bag for the gift bag for the Oscars. B.D. Wong, the actor, modeled for me. So I had some really nice opportunities right away. But discovered that it was women who were wearing my garments more than the men. So I came to the realization that I was sort of an example of what's happening in today's world of fashion, which is designs that are worn by men or women. And so that's kind of what I embraced at that point.
So your first collection, you came out, it was a smashing hit. Then you've done more since then, and you've done stuff for kids. And I know that you are moving on to even more stuff. So with this being the third year, what can we expect from James Cox Knits now? Say that 5 times fast, by the way.
What's happening now is I've been approached by different companies that either make or distribute yarn, asking me if I would help them with my designs. So I've just produced a collection that has been released and is in the market now, and working with the Skicelle company. And so we put together a collection of 20 designs, and 12 of which have been released. And actually, I have a few samples if you're curious, would like to see what they look like.
I absolutely would love to see samples.
Well, these are some photographs, and I'll hold up a few for the camera, so tell me if this works for you. Um, let's see here.
There you go.
There you go. This is a bomber jacket. That's a zippered bomber jacket. And actually, if you saw the holiday issue of Vogue, they asked me to create a design. So there's actually a bomber jacket that I created for Vogue as well that's available through them. And this is a design that I developed in collaboration with Skicelle using their wonderful yarns.
How beautiful is that? And so obviously that it works for men and women. And because it's hard for me to see the detail, like what are some aspects of that bomber jacket? I mean, does it zip up? Like what are some things that people can expect as far as construction even?
It's zippered and it is knitted from the top down, and it's knitted in 3 pieces so that the body and then the sleeves are separate and then joined. And then the detail in the cuffs and the waist and the collar is a fine yarn that gives you a nice nice ribbed construction that's is snug and holds the body against the body.
Very
It's knitted with a reverse stockinette stitch, so it has a little bit of an illusion of being woven rather than knitted.
Very cool. And what yarn does that use?
This uses just one second. Let me tell you here. I think I've got it. I think it's simply worsted.
Okay.
It's a yarn from Haiku.
Haiku, yeah.
Is Haiku Kobasi, which
All
is
right.
bamboo silk blend.
Very cool. I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Here's another. This is actually a hoodie.
Okay.
The yoke is garter, and it's 2 colors that alternate in little stripes. And so is the hood. And then the rest of the body, the lower body and the arms, are stockinette. And this is half nature, which comes from Zitron.
Okay.
So a combination of virgin wool, it's a superwash wool, and hemp.
Very cool.
So it's got
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a very lightweight and very sturdy. So it's a really fantastic fiber, and it has a little bit of a tweedy effect in the way that the colors are blended.
I love the way that you are switching up your photography and showing it on both men and women. I know you kind of played around with that the last time you and I talked, but I love seeing that on the man and the woman. Now, here's my question. Are those 2 different sweaters, or is that the same sweater just on, one time it's on the man and then the same sweater one time it's on the woman?
It's the exact same sweater.
All right. That's fascinating because that allows people to really kind of get an idea of the amount of ease that they might get.
Yes.
Very cool.
What happens is on my website, there is a knitting help page. And there I have all the terms for every sweater I knit. I have links to videos that are tutorials. I also have instructional guides for top-down knitting, and I'm adding one for tailoring. So if you pick up one of my patterns and you'd like to tailor it a little bit for your own particular shape or body, then I'll be able to offer you some guidance on how to do that.
Awesome. That's very cool. I love that. Do you have another one?
Yeah. I've also done a couple of pieces that are more like shirts. So here's 2 examples. One is T-shirt. And this is the Kobasi yarn that I referenced again, which is cotton, bamboo, silk, and it has a little elastic nylon in it.
Okay.
So it sags, it holds its shape, it's machine washable, it's a fantastic fiber. And believe it or not, this is knitted with sock yarn.
Wow.
And it feels incredible on the skin. It's just got a really, really nice drape and feeling to it.
Very cool. I love that. I love the little pocket detail.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And a companion to that is a polo shirt that I did in the same yarn. And this is knitted in a stockinette and a reverse stockinette. It doesn't probably show in the photograph, but there are some really subtle stripes, vertical stripes that run through the polo.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see it in the picture, but I trust you.
This is styled after Rene Lacoste's original design from the 1920s. He was the tennis star that invented the polo shirt.
That
And
is fantastic.
this is styled after him.
I love it. I mean, it just looking at the image, just plain on, it looks like a polo shirt. It looks just like not like it's a knitted sweater or anything. What yarn did you use for that one?
This is the Kobasi also. So
All
both
right.
this and the t-shirt are in the same fiber.
That's
And
great.
they just feel fantastic. And like I said, they have a little bit of that elastic nylon, so it holds its shape and it's machine washable. It's really a wonderful, wonderful fabric.
Which is a very important factor when you're dealing with a you said bamboo, cotton, and silk.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I mean, those are heavy fibers in general. So when you go to choose the different yarns that you work with Skacel, what is your process to decide which fiber you're going to use and how it works with each design? I mean, I know the process I go through, but I'm really curious of how you go through that and deciding what's the right yarn fiber content for the design you're making. And I'm going to back that up with, do you also think about, is this fiber going to work as you get to some of the larger sizes? Is it still going to hold up? Is it still going to be able to maintain the look you're going for?
What I really do is I swatch and sample quite a lot.
Okay.
Play around with it to get a sense of what the elasticity is, how forgiving it is, get a suggestion of what the drape is going to feel like. So that has a lot to do with how I want to work with it. And then I spend a lot of time following what the design community does. I'm plugged into the fashion trends, so I get reports on fashion trends across the industry. And then I spend a lot of time whenever I'm traveling, for example, in various cities, going into boutiques and shops and just touching and feeling garments, looking at what they're made from, and sort of staying abreast to how people are using yarn today and what the results look like. So those are kind of my points of reference. I'm also fortunate because I have a niece who happens to be a knitwear designer for a major international brand.
Fantastic. That's really handy.
And she and I work closely. I call her up and say, I've got this idea. Do you think this will play out the way I think it's going to play out? So I have a little collaboration involved.
That is so great. I mean, seriously, if you want to pass on any of those little tidbits you hear, I would love to know because I'm always looking for, what to design and how to do it and all that good stuff. So, how is your junior collection doing, by the way?
It's been quite nice. I put together a few pieces for children, and among them is a baseball cap. So when I designed a baseball cap, I found a company that makes the bills, the insert that goes inside the bill. So I picked those up and I put it together with the yarn. So, when you buy the pattern, you get the little bill insert as well.
Yeah.
And then I've done some junior versions of the designs that I created for adults. And they have been well received and turned out really nice. I just was able to rework them starting from scratch for children's sizes.
I love that. So now as you go into the third season, I mean, I'm looking at your website, which is always, it's like eye candy. Your photography is fantastic. And I love that it's with half naked men. I mean, that doesn't get any better than that in my world. So kind of tell us, I mean, what's happening?
Well, what's happening at present is Trendsetter Yarns, which is another major distributor. They approached me and asked me to create a collection for them. So they've just supplied me with some new additions to their collection of yarns from companies like Lana Grossa and some new yarn sources that they've identified in Europe, and given me some pretty beautiful new yarns that are going to be released soon. And so I'm developing some new designs for them, a whole collection, again, of sweaters.
Wow. I mean, you want to talk about some fun yarn. Trendsetter, I mean, Barry Klein over at Trendsetter does a very good job picking out what yarn he's going to distribute and does a really great job at designing and this is a compliment, whether you come out this way or not, but simple patterns, because honestly, simple is hard. Simple patterns as a designer, for me, it's very difficult to come up with simple, easy, wearable, just beautiful. And I think that's something that you really excel at too. So I think the combination of you, your design aesthetic, and Barry's design aesthetic when it comes to the yarns and stuff that he's choosing, I think it's a great collaboration. Do you get to choose the different yarns you want to choose, or is he choosing the ones for you?
It's a combination. He'll show me the yarns that he really wants to showcase. And in a couple instances, I've said, well, you like this particular concept, but I think it's going to be more successful with a different yarn. And he may follow my lead. So it's truly a collaboration. And I've always enjoyed working in collaboration with other creative people. So that's really making it, a lot of fun for both of us.
I love it. I love it. Now, are these patterns released now, or are they in the works?
They're in the works, and they will be released later in the year. So we're in the midst of developing those designs, and I'm working them up and writing them, testing them, doing all the things one has to do. One of the things I would mention when you were talking about simplicity and pattern design is a lot of the ideas for what I like to do and like to work with are really coming directly out of fashion rather than knitting per se. And I love to to work with knitting, but fashion is really what drives me and my interest in the design of garments. And so what I'm always doing is looking at the construction, the shape, and those kinds of ideas. And then I try to make it interesting for the knitter. So I look at the construction and see if there's an interesting way to make it and to create the the particular garment. That's why I do a lot of work that's top down, which I really love top down knitting. Frequently, it eliminates seams. It gives a more professional finish to a lot of garments, and so that's kind of how I mix it all together and kind of how I approach things.
So I'm going to ask you a question as designer to designer. So I like top down. It's not that I don't like top down, and I use it in some of my work, but I don't know, you and I've never really met before, but I'm a size 2X, and I find that I prefer seams in my work because it gives a place for my fabric to actually hold on to. It gives it like a stability piece to it. Like, you aren't going to find a skyscraper made without, support beams. And I feel like those seams are there for my support of my sweater. Cause it's, by the time you compare a size small sweater to my 2X size, it's double the sweater, double the fabric. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone. Do you ever find that you have issues with it always being top down and not having any seams? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the answer to that is not everything I do is top down.
Okay.
So a lot of the designs are not. So they're set in sleeves. It may be done in pieces. I have a new piece that I've just put together that's going to be part of this Cassell collection, which is a very sporty design. And it's done in pieces and sewn. And as you just pointed out, it gives a structure to the piece that's unique and different from a more, what would I call it, more fluid design, if you will.
Okay, awesome.
So I understand what you're saying, and I think that's an important distinction in the way one approaches design. And I enjoy working with both. I'm doing some cardigans, that again are developed in pieces because the design asked for it, and so that's what I did.
Perfect. That's the perfect answer. It's one of those things, like, I have some designer friends that all they ever do are just top down. And I often wonder that, because as a larger lady, I would hesitate to always purchase just top down, because I know, having had experience with working with some top down in my size, they just start to really sag over time. And it's just, I look like I have droopy boobs. I mean, it's just not a pretty sight. It's so bad. So I really prefer seams. And, and I know that there are knitters out there that are like anti-seams. They don't want to do anything with them. But I'm like, there's a purpose to them. But at the same time, there's a time and a purpose for just seamless and top down. Like, I get that too. So I just was wondering where you were with that. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mention droopy boobs, but what I mean, you get the concept, right? That's
Right.
actually one of the reasons I hesitate to put pockets a lot in here, because it'll start to sag on me. But you said that the yarn had elastic in it, or so it helped hold, which is great, and that's important. And it's great that you've already thought through that, because I'm sure that's something that other people have thought about.
Yes, yes. And I think it's one of the reasons why women have been receptive to my designs and looked at them and said, I can wear that, and I think it'll actually look good on me. Is because if they evaluate the various concepts that I'm putting out there, they find something that's right for their particular body, and we're all so different.
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Now, I know that you talked earlier where you were doing kits and stuff when you first started. Are you still doing kits? Can people still purchase these kits on your website? I know that in the chat room here on YouTube, during the live chat, people are asking, where can I find the kits for this? Where can I find these patterns? There's lots of questions, lots of positive feedback for you, and they love the chat, and they love that they're seeing you live and looking at the pictures, which is fantastic. One person even asking, Joyce is asking if you have a top-down tank top pattern. Anyways, but let's let you answer those questions as far as where can they find your stuff.
They can find my designs on jamescoxknits.com. So if they go to my website, once again, it's jamescoxknits.com. And there what they'll find is they can purchase patterns, they can purchase the complementary yarn for the pattern, and they can also purchase kits. Just recently, I've actually begun to sell the patterns separate from the kits, so which I wasn't doing initially. So patterns are available. The important thing for them to realize is that when I design a pattern, I write what is called a row checker. And I create a document that's set up to help them keep track of every stitch and every row and every section of the garment. And that is available complimentary with every pattern. And I'm now adding downloadable patterns to my website. And so they will be able to download patterns if they prefer rather than a hard copy, so they can have a choice of, in some instances, for some of the patterns. And from my website, they will be able to download row checkers to complement the pattern and guide them. I got a really nice compliment from a lady the other day who had completed a sweater and wrote back to say, "This was such a delight. I always mess everything up, and this time I didn't.
See,
checker, I couldn't even make a mistake."
and that's huge. I mean, that's one of the biggest fears as people jump into knitting sweaters is making those mistakes, because it's such it's a commitment to make a sweater, and the fact that you've taken the fear out of it is key. We have a question. Susan wants to know if you made the sweater you are wearing, and I was actually admiring it as well, so I was curious if you've made it.
Yes, I did. This is actually linen. This is El Nino, which comes from a source. I sourced this from Skacel, and it's a herringbone that goes back and forth in the stripes. And it's a very loose-fitted, it has a lot of drape to it. It's a raglan top down, no seam, because it's linen. But yes, I did make this.
I love it. It's beautiful. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I love that it has a good amount of ease. Like, it's very attractive on you. It's very nice. I love that. So there you go, Susan. Before we jump any further, I want to jump in here to everybody who is listening live. If you are listening live to this YouTube podcast right now, and you are interested in a chance to win the Brooke cowl, we'll ask Jim about the Brooke cowl here in just a minute. All you need to do is leave a comment right now on the live chat that says, "I want to win." My social media manager, Caitlin, will randomly select one of you who has left a comment that says, "I want to win," and you will win live on air. I want to repeat this once again. This is only for those of you who are watching the podcast live right now. If you're not catching the podcast live, don't worry. There's going to be another chance for you to win something as well. I'll let you know about that here in a minute, but I want to get people start commenting as I ask you about the Brooke cowl, because they're going to be commenting, and what is it that they're wanting to win?
The Brooke cowl is a piece that I've just created. It's actually going to be featured on my Instagram feed and Facebook. I'll be sending an e-blast out to everybody who signed up for my newsletter on my website. And the Brook Cowl is knitted in L'Amour. L'Amour is a new yarn from Peru, and it's a haiku yarn, and it is 100% llama. And what I did a little research on llamas versus alpacas, because I was always confused, thinking they were one and the same, more or less. And they're kind of like cousins, so they are related.
Yes.
And they're descendants of the vicuna. And I had heard of vicuna before, but I didn't know anything about it.
It's luxury fiber. That is 100% luxury.
It's considered by many to be the softest fiber in the world. And the llama is a direct descendant of the vicuna. And the fleece of the llama actually has two layers. It has an outer layer and a soft inner layer. So L'Amour is made exclusively from the softer inner layer of the llama. And it's named after the Spanish word for love. And I predict you'll fall in love with this yarn. It's just spectacular. So the cowl is actually knitted in 5 colors, and it's stripes, and it's in a round. So it's really a very simple pattern to knit, really. But you change you alternate the colors on every row. So it's a rotation between the 5 colors as you knit. So it has, in my opinion, kind of a meditative quality because it's a stockinette piece. And so it's very kind of a calming exercise to knit. But I think that the real delight in it is the fact that the colors keep changing every row, which makes it kind of fascinating. And sort of you watch the pattern sort of repeat itself as you work.
Wow. Wow. Now, are they getting just the pattern or are they getting an entire kit?
The pattern.
Okay. Somebody's going to ask me, so I might as well ask. All right. So they're going to get the pattern for this wonderful Brook cowl, which sounds delightful. The llama, I've made an entire sweater out of llama, and oh my gosh, can I tell you how wonderfully warm it is, especially here in Colorado? It's great. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful fabric that it creates. So I bet that, would you call it L'Amour?
It's called L'Amour.
L'Amour.
The yarn is available on my site, and the pattern will be available as well next week.
Very cool.
Posted to Facebook, to my Facebook feed, and to my Instagram feed.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So while people are still leaving comments over here on YouTube, it's pretty darn great. So many of you are watching today. Thank you for joining us live. Jim, I'm going to let you take a drink because I know you've been talking a lot. And sometimes I know that my mouth gets a little bit dry. If you are not catching this broadcast live, don't worry. There's still a chance for you to win. Here on the Yarn Thing podcast, we give a prize away to a live listener to the show and a prize to somebody who leaves a comment on the show notes. Now, the show notes are available over on marleybird.com, and I'm going to say that several times. So if you're playing a drinking game, take a shot every time I say marleybird.com. You will go to marleybird.com, click on the drop-down menu for the podcast, and you'll see where it says show notes. Select today's show notes with Jim Cox or James Cox Knits, and you will find on there a brief synopsis of the show, including links and images and all the information that you might have missed, or maybe you're like, what is it that live winner won, and what is this fiber? Like whatever it is, we'll have that information there. We'll also have a link to this particular video, so it will be available for you to reference there as well. At the very bottom of those show notes, you will literally have to scroll all the way down if you're on your mobile device, and all the way down if you're on your desktop. You'll see where you are able to leave a comment. Your comment is your keyword that, or your comment is your entry ticket for a chance to win, and it must include a keyword that Jim will give us here in just a minute. So, for example, or no, let's continue on. Once you leave that comment, you will sit back, chill out, and relax, and we will randomly select a winner from those comments in about 3 to 4 weeks from the original air date of the podcast. Some of you have asked, why can I not give you a specific date? That's because I have a very rigorous travel schedule, and there are times when we don't have a podcast one week. We'll have to skip a week, and so that's why sometimes it gets pushed and pulled. But we always go back and give away a prize. prize, and we announce it on another podcast. So for example, Selena Baca was on the show here last year. Love her. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. And she is giving away a 7-day free trial to the American Crochet Association, if you remember that. So what people did is they went to the show notes for Selena Baca. They put their comment down that included the keyword yarn life. And we went in, randomly selected a winner, and that person is going to win the 7-day free trial. And the winner is Joyce Gravino, whose comment was, "Yarn life is my life. Just look at my stash. Laugh out loud. I have to check out the Yarn Life show, though. I didn't hear about it. Just when I needed more watching material. Thanks so much." So Joyce Gravino is the lucky winner of the 7-day free trial of the American Crochet Association. We will email her all the information she needs, and bada bing, that is it. So it's literally as simple as going to marleybird.com, finding the show notes for today's show, scrolling all the way to the bottom, and leaving your comment. That's not to say that I don't want you to comment here on Facebook or on YouTube. Of course I do. I love your comments. And when you smash that like button, that helps even more. But if you want to be entered for a chance to win, it has to be on marleybird.com. Now, let's find out what the keyword is for you to make sure you leave in your comment. So, Jim, what should their keyword be?
Well, as I recall, what we had identified as this prize was a baseball cap.
Okay. Let's see here. I don't have the prize written down, but I'm probably just not looking at it right. But it's a baseball cap, okay?
So this baseball cap that I'm offering is knitted in one piece, and it has the bill insert included, and it's a kit. So it'll be both the pattern, the yarn, and the bill insert. And the keyword is sportswear.
Sportswear is the keyword. I love that, guys. Sportswear is your keyword. So make sure you put that in your comment. And where are they going to go to leave their comment, Jim?
They're going to marleybird.com.
There you go. That counts as a shot, everybody. So make sure you go to marleybird.com and leave that for your comment. And that's for everybody, whether you're watching live or you're catching this after after we go live. Leave your comment. All right. So Jim, let's go ahead. Caitlin's going to randomly select. Oh, look, Joyce is actually in the chat room right now. That's so funny. So she's the one that just won on that other podcast. I just happened to see her name. Sorry. So, Squirrel, Caitlin is going to randomly select a winner who has said she or he wants to win. And Caitlin has selected Mary Johnson, or Mari Johnson, Mari. Mari Johnson is the lucky winner of the Brooke Cowl. So congratulations, Mari. What I need you to do is email me at winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. Winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. And Jim, what do you need from them or what do you need from Mary to get her prize?
I'm sorry, what?
The lucky live winner is Mary Johnson. So when she emails me, what information do you need from her? Do you need her email address? What do you need?
What I would need from her would be an email address and a mailing address.
All right. So email address and mailing address is what you need to send me. Mary Johnson, congratulations. And once again, you'll send that to winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. And it's as easy as that, you guys. Jim, thank you first off for joining me on the podcast. Thank you for offering prizes to the lucky listeners. They love to get prizes, but they love to listen and hear the stories of the guests. And you are absolutely one of our favorites. So thank you for coming on today.
You're welcome.
I love it. Hey, you're welcome. Sorry for the delay. You missed earlier when I was saying that I had terrible internet connection. Couldn't figure out what was going on. I restarted my modem. I restarted my computer twice. I'm like, I don't know what is happening. And then all of a sudden, everything came alive. I was like, all right, good. So thanks for bearing with me. Live radio, what do you do?
Yes.
All right, Jim, we will talk to you again soon, and good luck with everything with Trendsetter. I love Barry Klein. I think you guys are going to have a great connection together.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, everybody. So that concludes today's Yarn Thing podcast. I want to remind you that the show notes can be found over at marleybird.com. A direct link to the show notes has been placed in the video description of this podcast. So if you look on YouTube, you'll see in the video description where there's a direct link to the show notes. I've also placed a direct link to Jim's website so you could check out his awesome kits and yarns and patterns and everything you need to know. If you want to stay up to date to what he has available, make sure you sign up for his newsletter. Follow him on Facebook and on Instagram. And as always, we'll make sure we let you know what he's up to because we really enjoy having him on here as a guest. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. It has been a real treat being able to join you. Let's say thank you to our sponsors, Stitches.events, where I will be at Stitches West later this February 2018, and my mom will actually be joining me. So I would love it if you would join me there in Santa Clara, California. Thank you to Creative Bug, Craftsy.com, Erin Lane Bags, Buffalo Wool Company, and last but certainly not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson, and it's the home of the brand new Red Heart Chic Sheep by Marley Bird Yarn. All right, guys, that's it for today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.